Hello, everyone. Welcome to the NFL Week 12 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. The road to 272 bets. Unfortunately, March is on. At this point, I wish it would put me out of my misery because there's no running away. There's no hiding from it. I know I didn't not record Monday night because I didn't want to talk about how bad my picks went. I didn't record Monday night. I had real life things that got in the way, and by the time I was ready to record, it was too late, so I had to delay it till Tuesday night. So I apologize for that. But yes, I'm here to face the music that I'm in the process of having what will end up being the worst season I've had in betting the NFL in my life, and by far the worst season of the road to 272. And this is year 5 or 6 that I've done it. I think I started in 2020 or 2019. I think it was 2020. So it'll be 2020, 21, 23, 20. So I think this is my 5th year doing it. Maybe my 6th. No, I think it's 6th. Maybe I must have started in 2019. Yeah, I think I did start in 20. Regardless, this will be the worst season that I've had to date. And not only that, just when I thought I'd hit rock bottom with an already horrific first 10 weeks of the season, week 11, then cap things off. And really, it is the worst week that I could possibly have. I don't really know if it could get much worse. If you didn't know, I went 2-13 with my picks last week. I won 2 bets. 2-13, minus 11.11 units. It's hard to have that bad of a week. In fact, some would say 2-13 might be harder to do than 13-2. It's actually kind of impressive I've been that bad with my bets so far this season. The only way things would get worse, and maybe it's kind of a good thing that I've had this bad of a season, because I've certainly had a high bar. The second year that I did the road to 272? I won I think 30-something units. Now I'm seeing the losing side of that. I'll probably end up down over 30 units for the season. I'll be lucky, actually. At this point, I might take that. So I've set the high bar for myself. This season is the low bar version of that. So hopefully this will be the worst season, and last week will be the worst week I'll ever have to experience. The only way a week could get worse if it's a full 16-game week and I go 2-14, I guess, instead of 2-13, or gamble or forbid, in a full week, in a full 16-game slate, I go 1-15, or I guess in a 15-week slate, I could go 1-14. I guess would be worse, but it would be pretty difficult to have a worse week than 2-13. The best week I've ever had, I know the week that I won up over 30 units, I think I had a 13-3 week. So 2-13 is actually worse than what 3-13 is, or than what 13-3 is good. So yeah, I'm just setting new records for new lows all season long. So I guess I'll kind of address that, because now that brings my season to date record to 67, 95, and 1 for minus 25.9 units. The worst season I've had so far. I think I've been down double digits in a season once. I think I was down 11 units. I think I finished last year was my worst season. So this is more than double my worst NFL season. So I at this point, you have to kind of take a step back. Now, the touts out there, the idiots out there, the ones who pretend to be professional bettors but aren't, how they react to cold streaks is they say, hey, I'm going to hit the lab. No one's going to work harder than me. I'm going to hit the lab. I'm going to put hours in. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get hot. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to blame it on, things like that. I'm not going to, and I've never claimed to be a professional bettor. I've claimed to be a casual bettor. So these kinds of cold streaks are going to happen. But if you're this bad, I do think you should take a step back and maybe reevaluate your process a little bit. What has caused me to go 67, 95, and 1 so far this season? Is it bad luck? Is it, my process? Because I've had profitable seasons. I've had very profitable seasons. I was in the green before this year of my overall record betting on the NFL over the past 5 or 6 years. So I don't really know. I think last week when I ended up going 2-13, and I think I've talked about this on this podcast, I've kind of had a belief this season that the best teams are significantly better than the worst teams, and to just mostly lay the points. And I think I allowed the second half of last year, where favorites covered and won almost every week, and the first half of this year where that was the case, I kind of let that change my ways. because my strategy over the past number of years, especially when I've had good seasons, is to take the ugly bet. Take the ugly bet, take the big underdog when you see an opening. And I've done far from that this season. This season, I've taken a lot of favorites, especially the past few weeks. Last week, I laid, more than a touchdown worth of points on big favorites on the road. Almost none of them covered. It's a big week for favorites winning outright, but underdogs covering, which did not work out well for me. I have been looking at DVOA a lot this season, which I hadn't done in seasons past. Is that related? Am I kind of, paralysis by analysis and relying too much on just overall numbers instead of doing what I used to do, which was kind of dive into the stylistic matchups of teams? Maybe. Is it just bad luck? Is this just the other side of variance? Is my winning seasons, are they just good luck and this season is just bad luck? Possibly. It certainly plays a little bit of a role. I certainly have had some bad... I don't think you can go 67, 95, and 1 for minus 25.9 units without some bad luck mixed in. Just like I don't think you could go as well as I did when I won 30 units that season without good luck. So I'm changing things up a little bit this week with my picks. Taking a few more ugly picks. Certainly some favorites I'm still laying some big points on, especially because there's a lot of, big favorites this week. I'm not going to do the complete opposite and now just take every underdog because that's not going to work either. But I gotta rely a little bit more on what I used to do, which is more about stylistic matchups. Styles make fights, buy low, sell high, and not just go into this week with the assumption that the best teams in the NFL are far better than the worst teams and they should win and cover more often than not. So how I'm looking at these games is going to change a little bit. I don't have an excuse. It's been a horrific season. I need to change things up a little bit. But I'm not going to tell you guys I'm going to spend more hours in the lab. There's only so many hours in a day you can spend handicapping games. That's my favorite one, is when people say, I'm going to be up all night spending time in the lab. I'm going to figure these picks out. At the end of the day, it's gambling. It's not like if you spend 7 hours instead of 6 hours, all of a sudden you're going to unlock the key and figure out what the exact outcome of these NFL games is. It is what it is. It's gambling at the end of the day. I've accepted this will be my worst season. I have to try to fight back. So let's see if I can go profitable from here until the end of the year. That's kind of the goal. See if I can get my loss to at least, better than being down 25 units. So that's the new goal. From here till the end of the season, let's try to be profitable. Will it happen? I don't know. Because when you're on a cold streak, it feels like no matter what you do, it feels like when you go with your gut, you're wrong. If you go against your gut, you're wrong. It feels like every bounce goes against you. It feels like penalties go against you. It feels like special teams plays goes against you. You make the ugly bet like I did on Monday night with the Raiders. Then that was the time to bet the obvious side and bet the Cowboys. You bet the obvious side and it's the underdog that ends up covering. So, just to quickly recap some of the plays from this past week. Seahawks, an underdog bet. I took them out right instead of taking the points. If I would have just taken the points, they would have won. It's just things like that just happen, it feels like, when you're on a cold streak. The one game I bet the under was the highest scoring game of the week. I bet the under on Bills Buccaneers. It ended up being 76 points scored in that game. Took the Chargers. These are just bad bets. Took the Chargers to win and cover. They lost by 29. Took the over in Commanders Dolphins. Seemed like every drive they got down to the goal line, either kicked a field goal or got turnover on down. So over 47.5. It finished with 29 combined points. Falcons were up late against the Panthers. They ended up losing. Took +3 with the Cardinals. 49ers won by 19 points. It is what it is. Not only did I go 2-13, I won Thursday Night Football. I won on the Patriots on Thursday Night Football. So I went 1-13 after Thursday. Shout out to the Steelers for being my only win on Sunday. I lost a lot of money. On Sunday. But it's almost one of those weeks. It's so bad. All you can do is just laugh and say, fuck it. I don't know what else to do, guys. I'll keep trying. This is the road to 272. I'm not going to back out. I'm not going to, back down. I got to keep trying to bet. The only other thing I want to bring up is the Kansas City Chiefs, who last season, and I guess this kind of is within the same realm of what I'm talking about. It's the same theme of variance that you get in the NFL. Last season, I went on a campaign all year long talking about how the Chiefs aren't that good of a team. They finished the season 15-2. They got all the way to the Super Bowl before they finally got blown out. I was getting in arguments with Chiefs fans all season. Nick Wright took my tweet and talked about me on his show and said how stupid and wrong I was. My point was the Chiefs were not nearly as good as the record. And for me to do that, I was breaking down some metrics where they ranked, which most of them it was pretty average. They ranked in metrics despite going 15-2. Their thing was they won every close game. Every single one score game they were undefeated in last year. Every late game bounce went their way. And as a result, they ended up going 15-2. Now, Chiefs fans, who I argued with on a weekly basis, were adamant, told me that's not variance, it's not luck, it's Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. They just know how to close games out. That's what they do. It's a skill, it's a talent, it's an ability. It's something the Chiefs have that other teams don't. Well, now, the Chiefs are 5-5 through the first 11 weeks this year. They outranked last year's Chiefs in almost every single metric. So I tweeted this out today. You can go back and look at it if you didn't see it. I listed 7 metrics. So DVOA, net yards per play, EPA per play, success rate, opponent EPA per play, opponent success rate, and average scoring margin. This year's Chiefs outrank last year's Chiefs in 6 of those 7 categories. The only one last year's Chiefs were better at was opponent success rate. I remember last year's Chiefs team was very good on third down defensively. They're 13th in the NFL last year in opponent success rate. This year, they're 19th. DVOA, 5th this year, 8th last year. Net yards per play, 11th this year, 20th last year. EPA per play, 3rd this year, 9th last year. Success rate, 3rd this year, 8th last year. Opponent EPA per play, 14th this year, 15th last year. Average scoring margin, 6th in the NFL this year, plus 7.3. Last year, 11th, plus 2.7. So my argument last year that the Chiefs were on the right side of late game variance nonstop every single week. You'll remember the rants I went on. I couldn't believe it. It was shaking my faith in everything that I know about the world because it didn't mathematically make sense. This year, the variance is flipped. They can't win these close games. So my question to Chiefs fans, who told me I was wrong last year, who told me luck didn't exist, who told me variance doesn't matter, all of you said the Chiefs are winning those close games because Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are better in those situations than anyone else in the NFL. So my question is, where are they now? What's wrong now? Because it's still Patrick Mahomes, it's still Andy Reid, and they can't win these close games. They can't win these late game situations. They aren't clutch. All these things that you told me about the Chiefs that made them different last year, for some reason, aren't showing up this year. Are you ready to admit that at the end of the day, a sport like the NFL, where it's a 17-game season, an extremely small sample size compared to any other professional sport, can you finally admit that luck plays a massive role? And last year's Chiefs team had the luck on their side week in and week out, and to your guys' credit, this year the luck is not on your guys' side. But it wasn't Patrick Mahomes. It wasn't Andy Reid. You guys had the blessings from Gambler, the blessings from whatever God controls luck out there, and this year you don't. So 1 year later, I'm finally proven right, and you guys are now suffering with the opposite side of luck, the opposite side of variance. Good riddance is what I have to say. Good riddance. Will I get any Chiefs fans apologizing to me because I was ultimately correct about them last year? No. That's okay. I don't do it for apologies. I do it for the love of the game. Let the record show I was right about the Chiefs last year. And this year, they're better than their record. But guess what? Late game variance. All right, let's get into it. It is time for the NFL Week 12 episode of the Bacon Bets podcast. We're in the final stretch of the season. The road to 272, unfortunately, marches on. All right, let's get into it. Let's try to beat 2-13 this week. 14 games was one fewer game this week compared to last week because there are 4 teams on bye. Ooh, I always like to do this. Can I remember who's on bye this week off the top of my head? No. I can't think of a single team that's on bye. The Chargers are on bye. The Chargers are definitely on bye. Are the Broncos on bye? I'm just going to look this up because I can't think of it off the top of my head. NFL Week 12. There's 14 games. That means 4 teams are on bye. One is definitely the Chargers. The Broncos, I did hit the other one. The Dolphins and the Commanders, that makes sense. They just played in Europe. All right. Let's get into my picks for this week, starting with Thursday Night Football. I'm going to take the Houston Texans at home to the Buffalo Bills. Texans plus 5.5, minus 105. Bit of an interesting matchup because these two teams are actually mirror images of each other. For example, if you look at DVOA, now I'm trying not to lean too much in DVOA this week, but it does kind of paint the picture I'm trying to paint here. The Bills are 4th in offensive DVOA, 22nd in defensive DVOA. Texans are 22nd in offensive DVOA, but 3rd in defensive DVOA. So in terms of DVOA, the Bills' offense is just as good as the Texans' defense, and the Bills' defense is just as bad as the Texans' offense. Now, I'm going to hope C.J. Stroud's going to play this week. When I placed this bet on Monday, I did not know, and he is out. Texans, C.J. Stroud, concussion ruled out Thursday. Okay. Not great. Not great. But the odds I don't think move. So the odds, the plus 5.5 number was as if Davis Mills was going to play. And to be honest, I know Davis Mills wasn't great this past week against the Titans. But I actually don't think it's a massive downgrade. No, still plus 5.5. So I'm going to rely on the Texans defense. They're at home. I think the Bills offense, I think when they have those big offensive explosive games like they had last week against the Buccaneers, people just think, oh shit, this Bills team is really, really, really good. But they have a lot of defensive issues. They let the Buccaneers, who are really banged up offense, put up a lot of points against them. Now they have the Texans defense, I think, is the best defense in the NFL right now. So they're going to have some problems, I think. Do the Texans win outright? I don't know about that, but 5, and I wish I could get 6. But I'm going to believe in the Texans defense, especially at home. Home team's had a big week this past week. So I'm going to back the home team. Short week, better defense, short week at home. I will go Texans plus 5.5, minus 105. Seahawks and Titans, this will be one of the games that I will lay the big points. I'm still a believer in the Seahawks. I was right about them last week. Sam Darnold does have some issues. When it gets to the playoffs, you have to consider Sam Darnold, and he is going to continue to be Sam Darnold in big games, the bad version of Sam Darnold in big games, until he proves us otherwise, unfortunately, at this point. Fortunately for us, the Seahawks and the Titans is not a big game. They should absolutely smoke the Titans. I got them at Seahawks minus 13. It's up to minus 13.5 here at most books. So still I like it anything under 14. Even at 14, I would probably still take the Seahawks. 14.5, look a different direction, probably take the under. But if you are a believer in DVOA, pretty easy matchup here. You have the first-ranked team against the last-ranked team in DVOA. Really not high on the Titans whatsoever. The Seahawks, despite losing this past week to the Rams, they lost because Sam Darnold threw interceptions. They outplayed that Rams team. Let me see what their net yards per play were in that game. Seahawks defense is very, very, very good. And also, the Seahawks actually have been better on the road this season, which is kind of surprising because we used to always look at the Seahawks as being a home dominant team, the 12th man. Yeah, last week, Seahawks outgained the Rams that's just yards per pass, yards per play, 5.2 to 5. So actually not as big of a difference as I thought. But they did have the better success rate in the game. Just the turnovers, 4-1 on turnovers, just absolutely killed them. And still, they had a chance to win it. Long field goal at the end, 61 yards, but they did technically have a chance to win it at the end. I think they're going to just crush the Titans. I really, really do. Titans got their cover last week. Now they're probably going a streak of 5 games where they don't cover. I'm going to play some ugly bets this week. You're going to hear about them. This one is not one of them. The next one's not one of them either. But I will take Seahawks minus 13, minus 110. I'm also going to take the Lions minus 10.5, minus 110. I still think, and I'll talk about the Packers later, I still think both the Lions and the Packers are like a top 4 team. I think almost if I were to power rank teams right now, I think I'm going Seahawks 1 still, Rams 2, Lions 3, Packers 4. Truly. I know that's crazy. I know I don't have the Eagles up there. You can call me out for that if you want. The Eagles offense is atrocious. I don't know if I have a single AFC team that I think is better than those top 4 teams. The Colts have some defensive issues. The Chiefs have defensive issues and overall issues closing things out. The Broncos have offensive issues. The Bills have defensive issues. Like, there's no complete team in the AFC. The Ravens have been good, but not as good as they should be. Seahawks are complete. Rams are complete. Lions are complete. Packers are complete. I just don't think the Lions and the Packers have played as good as they can play. But the Lions' MO, outside of that loss to the Vikings there a couple weeks ago, the Lions' MO has that they beat up on really bad teams. In terms of laying big points, the Lions are probably the team I feel the most comfortable laying a big point spread on, so I'm going to lay 10.5 at home on them against the Giants. Last week, I should have probably saw it coming with the Lions. Jared Goff historically has not played well outside, has not played well away from home. He returns home now against the Lions, gets back on turf, gets back indoors. And hey, shout out to Jameis Winston. He's fun, but he does suck. He just kind of does. And also, let's consider the Giants ranked last in opponent rush EPA, 31st in opponent rush success rate, last in opponent yards per carry. They allow 5.5 yards per rush. And now they have to take on the Detroit Lions, who are going to run the ball down their throat. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, his Lions offensive line, they're going to have a field day. I will lay the points to the Lions minus 10.5 against the New York Giants. You want an ugly bet? How about this one for an ugly bet? I will take the Jets plus 14 minus 115 against the Baltimore Ravens. I know the Ravens have won 4 straight games since coming off that bye, but their actual number is not quite as impressive, especially based on the teams they've faced. I need to see better. In this 4-0 stretch, they're still outside the top 10 in EPA per play, 9th in net yards per play over their last 3 games. And the teams they played are weak teams: Browns, Vikings, Dolphins, and Bears. Their numbers should be far better than what they are. I know their defensive numbers have been good, but still, you got the Browns offense, worst offense in the NFL, Vikings offense with J.J. McCarthy, Dolphins moved the ball against them in the first half, and they were atrocious in the second half. And then the Bears, who are the most fraudulent and overrated team in the NFL. So I'm not laying 2 touchdowns on this Ravens team yet. Maybe they come out and win by a bunch, but also Lamar Jackson hasn't been good. He's only run for a combined 50 yards in his last 3 games, so I think that injury is still bothering him. He has not been efficient the last 2 games. Completed 58.6% of passes 2 games ago, 56% of passes last week, a combined 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions over his past 2 games. Ravens team that, yes, playing better than they did at the start of the season, but still, they're not an elite team. And Lamar Jackson has not looked good despite getting wins and has not run the ball, which tells me that he's not healthy either. That's a lot to ask of a team to lay 14 points on them when they're not 100% and not playing like a Super Bowl contender. That's a lot of points. So I will take the New York Jets coming off a little bit of a mini bye. They played last Thursday, but it'll be a little bit of a mini bye for the New York Jets, who I know the final score didn't look like it, but the Jets actually gave the Patriots a little bit of a run for the money in that game. Funny enough, one of the only 2 bets that I won last week was on the Patriots, and I probably didn't deserve to win that bet. Got by that on the skin of my teeth. Jets drove late for a backdoor cover. Was a 4th and goal. They got a turnover and down. So Steelers, and one of my only 2 wins, my only win on Sunday. That was deserving, though. They beat up on the Bengals. I'm going to take the Steelers again. They are my upset pick of the week. I got them at plus 149 to defeat the Chicago Bears. I'm a little bit afraid that the Bears are going to be the team this year that just continues to win games they don't deserve to win. But I think it has to turn around for them. They're 7-3, somehow in first place in the NFC North, which is crazy. But they still rank 23rd in net yards per play, 25th in DVOA, 25th in opponent success rate. And they've had the 3rd easiest schedule in the NFL so far. You have to take into those factors into consideration. Now, the Steelers are probably going to play Mason Rudolph in this game, but I don't care. I don't think Mason Rudolph is really that far of a drop-off, if any, compared to Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers of old. He is old. And Mason Rudolph actually a little bit mobile there in the pocket, and I think can do some things. And he actually looked pretty good against the Bengals there when he came in relief for Aaron Rodgers last week. So, Steelers, they are far from a perfect team, but they're 14th in DVOA, 18th in net yards per play. Far better in almost every metric than the Chicago Bears. Despite that, they're underdogs. I get that it's in Chicago. I don't care. I will take the Steelers on the money line. I refuse to believe the Bears are going to continue to win games. It's just crazy how they've won games. 5-minute, 10-point comeback against the Giants. Blocked field goal against the Raiders. Needed to complete a Hail Mary to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, the way that they're winning these late games against really, really bad teams just cannot be sustainable. So I'll take the Steelers plus 149. The Patriots and the Bengals. The Bengals will be without Jamar Chase because he spat on Jalen Ramsey over the week. His defense for doing that was that if he meant to spit on Jalen Ramsey, he would have spat in his face, not on his uniform. So bold defense. Unfortunately, video doesn't lie. Eye in the sky, don't lie. So the Bengals will be without Jamar Chase, but still, I have a lot of total bets this week, and this is my first one here. I like the over 48.5. Now this has gone up. It's now at 50.5. At this point, I think I would stay away actually from the total. So my current best bet would actually be to take the points to the Bengals, because I think the Patriots are going to come crashing down to earth a little bit. Maybe they don't lose this game. But still, this is a team that has had by far the easiest schedule in the NFL this season, third easiest schedule of all time. So do not get seduced by the record. Don't get seduced by their metrics. This is a team that is not quite as good as the record indicates, and as of now, not quite as good as the betting market is treating them. So I'm going to fade the New England Patriots in this spot. I'll take I would fade them, but instead I got the total at 48.5. Let me just double check exactly what it is now. I think it's 50.5, but yeah, it's at 50. Maybe go the over. At this point, I'd probably take the 7.5 points to the Bengals. But the reason why I like the over, pretty easy. Two solid offenses, two terrible defenses. Defensive DVOA, Patriots 28th, Bengals 32nd. Offensive DVOA, Patriots 9th, Bengals 14th. The Bengals are also last in opponent yards per play, last in opponent EPA per play, second last in opponent success rate, the worst defense in the NFL the Bengals have. And the Patriots also, their defense has not been good either. Their defense continues to be hidden by, number one, Drake May playing really well and their offense playing well, and number two, their defense has not played any really good offenses. When they play a really good offense, and not to say the Bengals are a good offense, but they're an all-right offense, they're going to play a really good offense here soon, and they're going to allow 40 points. It's probably not going to be this week, but maybe the Ravens in a few weeks. Definitely the Bills. I think the Bills are going to smoke the Patriots next time they play them. But for now, I will take the over 48.5 Patriots-Bengals. The current total, I would instead take the Bengals, who I believe are getting 7.5 points. Let me double check. Based on the current line, I would take Bengals plus 7.5 minus 104, which is available over FanDuel. I have another over bet. It is the Chiefs and the Colts over 49.5. This is a total that, in my opinion, should be in the 50s, but as of when I bet this on Monday, it was still in the 40s. Let me see what it is now. It is still at 49.5. So I like the Chiefs Colts over 49.5 for quite the simple reason that these have been two of the very best offenses in football this season. The Colts' success has been because of their offense. First in offensive DVOA, first in EPA per play, second in success rate. In those three aforementioned stats, the Chiefs rank third, and fourth. So top four in every offensive metric, top three in most of them. For that alone, for a game that involves two top three offenses, the total, in my opinion, should be in the 50s, especially considering the defenses have been very average. The Colts defense has regressed over the past few weeks. The Chiefs defense has not been as good as it has been historically. So they've also kind of struggled to stop the run. So I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a big game. Also, Daniel Jones, if he does continue to be a little bit of a turnover merchant, which he's starting to slightly turn into now, that could be huge. That could give the Chiefs some favorable field position. So I'm going to back both offenses in this one and take the over 49.5 between the Chiefs and the Colts. I talked about the Packers earlier. I still have faith in this Packers team. I've lost a lot of money already betting on the Packers this season. I'm convinced that they are going to get hot in the final few weeks and not only win games, but start covering spreads. Because I don't understand how they're not, because their metrics are so good. I don't know how that happens. 7th in DVOA, 4th in net yards per play. Also, significantly better metrics when they're playing at home. despite losing a couple of home games recently. I think they steamroll the Vikings. Who? Man, I haven't called a lot of things right this season, but man, I have nailed JJ McCarthy. What was going on? I tweeted this out. Let me see if I can quickly share my screen here because I got to show this. It is where JJ McCarthy ranks amongst quarterbacks right now. JJ McCarthy, who was drafted by the Vikings, 10th or 11th, 10th overall, I think it was, maybe 11th overall. No one was really high on him. They're like, oh, he played for Michigan. How much did he contribute to that national championship? What's kind of going on there? He then got hurt in preseason last year, didn't play a single snap in the entire regular season, and now heading into this year, everyone was talking like J.J. McCarthy is a great quarterback without him playing a single regular season snap. Very bizarre stuff. Some of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. Week 1, he played 3.5 quarters horrifically, had one really good half quarter, led the Vikings to a comeback win against the Bears, and I have never seen Vikings, a fan base, a single fan base, be so arrogant about their rookie quarterback. Usually teams are optimistic, cautiously optimistic, excited. But man, Vikings fans making their profile pictures JJ McCarthy, trashing anyone on Twitter who would dare say that JJ McCarthy might not be a good quarterback. And now here we are. He is getting booed on his home field. And if I can share my screen here, I hope this works if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the Bacon Bets podcast on YouTube. Yeah, here we go. You're getting this now on YouTube. So what we're looking at for the audio listeners out there, and you can see this graph because I tweeted it out earlier this week. It is rbsdm.com. They do great stats on their website. Check it out. It is a quarterback efficiency graph where the y-axis is EPA per play. The x-axis is completion percentage over expected. So you want to be in the top right-hand corner of this, or top right-hand quadrant of this, and the further up and to the right you are, the better. So up in the very top right corner, you have Drake May, understandable. Sam Darnold, who I've been a fan of because of this. Jordan Love is up there, which is still, why are the Packers not that good this year? Josh Allen, you have the usual suspects. Even Daniel Jones is kind of up there. Jared Goff, Dak Prescott. Then as you go down this line far left, then naturally you get to quarterbacks who have not played as well this year. You have Justin Herbert's kind of literally in the exact center of this graph, which is a little bit surprising. But then you got Kyler Murray, Bo Nix, Bryce Young, Joe Flacco, Justin Fields, Geno Smith. Then you got, if you go really far down, bottom to the left, you have Dylan Gabriel and Cam Ward. Everyone kind of expected that. They've not been good this year. Cam Ward has been horrific in his rookie season. He hasn't got much help, but he's not been good. And then you go, wait. Huh? Where's J.J. McCarthy? I don't see him on this graph. And then, you realize if you then keep going down and to the left, J.J. McCarthy by himself all the way down in the bottom left of this quadrant. Not only is he the worst quarterback in the NFL so far this season, he's the worst quarterback by a mile. By a mile. A guy, Vikings fans, I thought this guy was supposed to be Joe Montana. What happened? He's getting booed on his home field? Can't beat the Bears the second time? What happened? I was seeing stats that were comparing him to Patrick Mahomes earlier this year. I gotta see if I can go back and find that tweet where some guy compared him to Patrick Mahomes. What happened, guys? I thought he was your savior. I thought he was your franchise quarterback. I thought he puts on the eye paint. He calls himself 6 or 9. He calls himself 9. Watch out. 9's on the field. Watch out, guys. 9. Hey, I won a national championship with Michigan. If you need further proof, you can scroll down and you see actually where these guys all rank. So Dylan Gabriel is 34th out of 35 qualifying quarterbacks. This is EPA plus CPOE, so the same stat that's being showed on the graph. Minus 0.018. JJ McCarthy minus 0.025. That's a pretty big gap. Damn. Hate to see it, Vikings fans. Hate to see it. So with that being said, I got to fix my screen here again. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, okay, I think that's good. With all that being said, give me the Packers minus 6.5, minus 109. Good luck, J.J. McCarthy, on the road against this Packers defense. Good luck with that, my friend. Good luck with that. 9. Put your little eye makeup on, buddy. Get hyped up. See how that goes for you. Packers, -6.5. Browns and the Raiders. Is this the worst game that we've seen this season? Is that the worst game? We got Browns-Titans here in a couple weeks, so that'll be even worse. I think the only bet you can place on this game is the under. If you want to do anything else, God bless you. I think the Browns are up to 3.5-point underdogs. I guess maybe you just take the points and kind of hope it's going to be a shit show. I don't know how either of these teams move the ball. Not only are their two offenses the worst offenses in the NFL, their two defenses are actually really good. Where do these guys rank in EPA here? The Browns, I believe, are last, and I think the Raiders are close to last. EPA per play, 30th and 31st. Titans are the worst. EPA, you have the Raiders 30th, the Browns 31st. Opponent EPA, the Browns are top 5, I know that. Browns are 5th, Raiders are 23rd, not as good as I thought. DVOA, the Raiders defense does rank better. But you don't need me to list off all these stats. These are two of the worst 3 offenses in the NFL and 2 defenses that are very good. The Browns defense, which is elite, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Myles Garrett is the -200 favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's probably going to break the sack record. And Carson Schweisinger is the favorite to win Defensive Rookie of the Year as well. So I just don't know. I know 37.5 points seems low, but then you think about it, you really think these offenses are both going to score over 20 points in this game? How? Unless there's defensive scores and special team scores, I've lost under bets that way before. Turnovers on the goal line, I guess. There's ways that the defense and special teams can turn it into a high enough scoring game, but man, I think this is going to be a punt fest. Under 37.5 between the Browns and the Raiders. The Raiders. All right. Let's keep things moving here. The Jaguars and the Cardinals. I will take the Cardinals plus 2.5. I'm going to continue to fade a Jaguars team that I think is bad. I think that them losing to the Chargers, or the Chargers losing to them by 30 points, might have been the most shocking result of the week last week. I don't know how that happened. I'll take the 2.5 points with the Cardinals. Jaguars still 15th in the league in DVOA, 24th in net yards per play, 18th in EPA per play, 13th in opponent EPA per play. Cardinals are similar in most metrics or better. Net yards per play, they're actually better, 17th compared to 24th. So I'm going to continue to sell on the Jaguars. The Cardinals are on their home field. They're getting 2.5 points on their home field. This seems like a bet that I think most bettors are going to look at and think, hey, the Jaguars are an obvious pick here. And I'm going to go the opposite way. This is the definition of an ugly bet. I'm going to take the ugly side. This is old school, Ian. We're going ugly. This is the bet no one wants to place this week. So I will take the Cardinals plus 2.5, even money, against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I still don't believe in. If you want to bet on a team you can bet on both the Jaguars to miss the playoffs and Bears to miss the playoffs. I think that's a nice little parlay. I don't think either of them make the playoffs. I think they both fall off big. Falcons and Saints. I've gone this long without talking about the Falcons. There's nothing really else to say about my Falcons. They suck. I hope they continue to lose games, not because we get a high draft pick, because we don't, because our draft pick is in Los Angeles. But so Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson get fired. The coaching is to blame. Too many weapons on offense. We have a pass rush now. Just the Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris has never been a good NFL head coach. I was a little bit optimistic bringing him in the second time. I thought maybe he could just be a leader of the team. And then I thought Zach Robinson was going to be a really good offense coordinator. But Zach Robinson, might be, I don't know. I guess he's just coming from the Sean McVay tree. I think we've kind of fallen for the trap of hey, this is a Sean McVay guy. He's going to be good. It's a predictable offense. He runs pistol. It sucks. Now the season has gotten worse. Michael Penix out for the year. Drake London out for at least this week. So the Falcons were 2-point favorites of the Saints. They're now underdogs to the New Orleans Saints. That's how bad things have gotten in Atlanta. Now, I'm not going to bet on either side. I'm going to take the under. Kirk Cousins has not been good when he's gotten in the game for Atlanta. But also, Tyler Shuck, actually, his metrics have not been good the couple games he started. Actually, for amongst all quarterbacks who played at least 50 snaps this season, there are 44 quarterbacks who played 50 snaps this season, 50 snaps or more. Tyler Shuck and Kirk Cousins rank 40th and 42nd out of 44, and expected points added plus completion percentage over expected. Not only that, but the biggest strength of the Saints defense is stopping the run. The Falcons' only answer right now is to run the ball. So Saints just going to stack the box, stop the run. The Falcons won't be able to score. The Falcons' defense is still good enough to be able to shut down the Saints' offense. So I think this is going to be another low-scoring game. Oh, that's not the right total. It is 39.5. I have the wrong one on the screen here. Saints-Falcons under 39.5. It's going to be an ugly game. Why are they playing in the late afternoon? I don't remember Saints games being a late afternoon game, especially the Chiefs are playing early afternoon, but the Saints are playing late afternoon. That's very weird. So because of that, I'm going to be, what's that, Clockwork Orange, the movie with the eyeballs stretched open. That's going to be me watching this game because it's going to suck. But I have to watch it. I'm a Falcons fan. This is part of being a fan, is even when your team sucks, especially when it's football and there's only 17 games, you have to sit down and sit through them, unfortunately. If your hockey team sucks, I don't expect you to have to watch all 82 games. If your baseball team sucks, you don't have to watch all 162. NFL, there's 17 games. No matter how good or bad your team is, you owe to them as a fan to sit down and watch every one. So I have to live through the pain. This is, the burden I bear. Falcons Saints under 39.5. Eagles Cowboys, I got a bad number on this on Monday. I took the Eagles minus 4.5. It is down to now minus 3.5. Some money has come in on the Dallas Cowboys, but I will take the Eagles. Now, I don't like what the Eagles have done offensively, but you can't discredit what the defense has done against the Packers and the Lions, two of the best offenses in the NFL. If their defense can do that against the Packers and the Lions, their defense can do that against the Dallas Cowboys. Offensively, yes, the Eagles' offense has been bad lately, but once again, two very good defenses, Packers and Lions. Now they get to take on one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Not only that, but the Cowboys can't stop the run. I think the Eagles are going to have a really good, successful game running the football. I think they can do enough through the air. I was actually surprised it was 4.5. Like, I set the line in this game at Eagles 5.5, 6. I think even 6. But obviously I'm wrong because it's now down to 3.5. But man, I love the Eagles in this spot. So maybe I'm seeing something wrong here, but I know the Cowboys offense has been good at times this season. But minus 3.5 right now, FanDuel. Minus 3.5, minus 102. Holy smokes, is there a 3 out there you can bet on? If there is, that's crazy to me. That is crazy. Yeah, I like the Eagles. I think it's a little bit of a statement win. I think they've won ugly against some really, really good teams, but now they take on at least a Cowboys team whose defense is pretty bad. So I will go Eagles minus 4.5, minus 105. All right. We have the Buccaneers against the Rams Sunday Night Football. I'm going to take the Rams, who, even though I do think the Seahawks are still the better team despite losing to the Rams this past week, that doesn't take anything away from the Rams. The Rams are the only team in the NFL who ranks in the top 6, both offensive EPA per play and opponent EPA per play, defensive EPA. And the Bucs, not as fraudulent as the Broncos or the Bears or the Jaguars, but not as good. Well, I shouldn't even say that because the record's really not that good either. Only have a half-game lead on the Panthers in the NFC South. But to kind of put it into perspective, 22nd in net yards per play, 12th in both EPA per play, opponent EPA per play, 13th in total DVOA. So they are an above-average team. They got to get healthy. Baker Mayfield's clearly battling something. Their offense is banged up. Their defense is banged up. And their secondary has been bad. 22nd in opponent dropback success rate. They can stop the run, but the Rams kind of more beat you through the air than on the ground. So I think the Rams win and cover here at home on Sunday Night Football. I think the Buccaneers are going to continue to stumble a little bit. So I'll take Rams minus 6.5, minus 110, which leaves me to Monday Night Football. I will take the favorite in this spot as well. I'll take the 49ers minus 6.5 once again. And maybe this is why My betting record is not good this year because there's just teams I'm convinced are bad and the metrics tell me are bad, but they continue to win games, and the Panthers are certainly one of them. So I'm going to take the 49ers in this spot, -6.5, -117, just to list off some metrics. The Panthers rank in 26th in total DVOA, 26th in net yards per play, 26th in EPA per play, 24th in opponent EPA per play. The 49ers also looked way better with Brock Purdy back at quarterback. It's clear, there's some whispers. Are they better with Mac Jones? No. Brock Purdy came back, looked fresh, looked fantastic, diced up that Cardinals defense. Now he has a worse defense he gets to face. The Panthers are also a team I'm selling on, a team that I think is going to come back down to earth. 49ers are starting to get a little bit healthy at the right time. I think they're going to have another big game. So I'll take 49ers -6.5, -117. All right, just to recap the picks, then we'll talk Survivor, my best bets, and teaser. To recap really quick, I like the Texans +5.5, -105. I like Seahawks -13, Lions -10.5, Jets +14, -115, Steelers on the money line +149, Patriots Bengals over 48.5, Colts Chiefs over 49.5, -111, Packers -6.5, -109, Browns Raiders under 37.5, Cardinals +2.5 at even money against the Jaguars, Falcons Saints under 39.5, Eagles -4.5, -105 against the Cowboys, Rams -6.5 against the Buccaneers, and 49ers -6.5, -117 against the Panthers, which I believe is up to 7 now. I would still take the 49ers at -7. All right, let's talk best bets first, and then we'll talk Survivor. Best bets. Last week I went 1-4 because, of course, I'm actually a little bit surprised I went 1-4 instead of 0-5. But for best bets for Pick'em, it was a Seahawks +2.5 instead of Seahawks money line because I just do spread for best bets, and Seahawks did cover the 2.5 point spread, so that was a winner. But then lost Falcons, lost Packers, lost Chargers, lost Chiefs. So 1-4 last week. My 5 best bets this week: I'll take the Seahawks to cover against the Titans, the Steelers to cover against the Bears, obviously because I like them to win, so I'll take the 2.5 points for best bet. Packers to cover against the Vikings, JJ McCarthy. Cardinals +2.5 against the Jaguars, ugly bet of the week. And 49ers to cover against the Panthers on Monday Night Football, -6.5. Let's talk Survivor. The only thing this football season that is going well for me, if nothing else, I have Survivor. It's the only thing keeping me sane. I hope I last longer in these Survivor pools, not only because I want to win money, but because while everything else is collapsing down in front of me, it is my one saving grace. So I am in 2 pools. The Road to 272 Survivor pool, we are down to the final 17, and ya boy, the one who runs it, is still in it. Once again, I'll say it again, you can't let me win Survivor. Now, you might be thinking, Ian, you gave out Falcons last week. How are you still in it? It's because I switched off Falcons. Thank God. If you follow me on Twitter, I put out a poll midweek. I was trying to decide who to go with between Cowboys, Steelers, and Falcons. I was on Falcons initially. I think that's who I gave out on the podcast last week. I got off it. I said, listen, they're taking on a Panthers team that's already beat them. This is the week after they just played in Europe over in Germany. They're coming back. They're playing the Panthers who can run the ball. The Falcons have struggled to stop the run. This has disaster written all over it. And also, I don't want to be eliminated on my Falcons. So what happens? Thank God I switched, because the Falcons blew a late lead, went to overtime, and then lost in overtime. Ugh. Man, that would have been the most classic way to get eliminated in Survivor. So I took the Steelers. Actually, that wasn't for the Road to 272. I took the Steelers in the other big pool that I'm in. Let me backtrack, because we are talking the Road to 272 pool. Sorry, I got confused which pool I took which team. Road to 272 pool, I took Texans. Which also, I almost lost that one because the Titans came down and scored late. But I was actually kind of oddly calm about that because I was like, the Titans aren't going to win this game. The Titans are going to tighten. So Texans didn't cover, but they did win. So let's talk Road to 272 pool, and then I'll talk my other entry. 17 people left, 17 of us. I am one of them out of the original 163. We have $4,400 US on the line. 2 of you took the Falcons. I hope you didn't take the Falcons because that's who I said I was going to take. You should have switched off them. I was talking about the other pool. Right. So no, you would have taken the Texans if you're listening to me. Patriots kind of escaped it on Thursday night. It would have been nice for me if they would have lost that in terms of Survivor. Texans just barely escaped. Ravens just barely escaped. Packers just barely escaped. And Steelers ended up winning comfortably. Were all the picks for Road to 272. I'll tell you my pick for this week because this is a very easy week. I would be shocked if anyone gets eliminated in this pool, in the Road to 272 pool, because there's so many options. Seahawks are a double-digit favorite. Ravens are a double-digit favorite. Lions are a double-digit favorite. 49ers on Monday Night Football are a touchdown favorite. Like, as long as you have one of those teams, you should be good. I'm taking Seahawks. I'll take Seahawks on the road against the Titans. You know, tied for the biggest favorite of the week with the Ravens. First in DVOA against last in DVOA. If I lose because the Titans upset the Seahawks, I'll tip my cap. I'll be like, all right, whatever. But that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the Seahawks. That's all it is. It's a very easy pick for me this week. I've actually, in terms of this pool and Joe Ostrowski's pool, I've actually drawn out my map of how I win games or how I win picks a lot better in this pool. Like I'm comfortable with week 14 is going to be a little bit sketchy for me, but other than that, I'm comfortable with every pick I've made. So Seahawks this week. If you have Seahawks left, I would recommend using them. I'd be shocked if any. I expect to come back on this podcast and say there's still 17 people in our pool. This is not the week people are going to get eliminated. Now I have general Survivor advice. If you are still alive in your Survivor pool, this is going to be a week in most pools, maybe ours because ours is a small pool and only 17 available, but most bigger pools or even average size pools, there's going to be multiple winners. So I don't think at this point you be contrarian, because now I think you just fight against yourself. Because now you just fight against, because this is not going to be over in week 16. This is not going to be over in week 17. It's going to go to week 18 and there's going to be multiple people in your pool left and the winnings are going to be split. That's the way it's going to work. So just fight each week. Don't worry about taking the contrarian pick. Just advance to the next week every time. Now what you should do, because there's only, 6 weeks left, you should map out your picks at this point. If you do it on Splash, there's 7 weeks left. You can go through and map out your picks and really try to configure the best possible situation every week. Because there's only 7 weeks left. You should do that. You don't want to take a team this week who you could have gone a different direction. Like, let's say you have both Seahawks and Ravens left this week. You don't want to necessarily say, take Seahawks this week, and then you're in week 17, and the Ravens are playing a good team. I don't know who they're playing in week 17, but regardless, Ravens are playing the Packers. So then you get to week 17, you don't have a team to take. You have the Ravens available to play the Packers. You took the Seahawks this week, and you could have taken the Ravens, and then week 17, the Seahawks play the Panthers, and you could have taken them. You know what, like, Matt, you should definitely be mapping out your picks the rest of the season. I've done that in both my pools. The pool I want to talk about is Joe Ostrowski's pool, because it started with 1,729 people. The grand prize is $75,643.75. I'm one of the final 83 people in that pool. Now, I don't think there's going to be a sole survivor. I hope there's 10 or fewer, but you might even have more than 10 by the end of this. Now, for Joe Ostrowski's pool, next week, it's a 2-team week. You got to pick 2 teams, which is going to eliminate some people. This week should once again be a relatively easy week. So I'm taking Seahawks in the Road to 272 pool. I don't have the Seahawks in Joe Ostrowski's pool. I'm taking the 49ers on Monday Night Football against the Panthers. And that's the pool that I was originally on the Falcons. I switched off and went Steelers, and thank fuck I did. Because if I was on the Falcons this past week and lost Survivor, I lost out on a chance at 75K because I took my stupid Falcons and they fucking blew that lead, I never would have recovered. That on top of going 2-14, 2-13 might have been the end of me. Thank God I switched to the Steelers. They won. Relatively sweat-free by the end of it. So we advanced to this week. For Joe Ostrowski's pool, I don't have any of the big favorites available. I don't have the Seahawks. I don't have the Lions. I don't have the Ravens. I don't have the Bills are Thursday. I don't have the Patriots. And those are all the big favorites. So I'm going to take the 49ers on Monday Night Football against the Panthers. 49ers getting healthy. Panthers way overrated. 49ers are at home. Panthers got to go out west. I think that's a relatively safe pick. Not as safe as the Seahawks or Ravens would be, but I do think that's relatively safe. And then that'll take me to next week where I have a 2-pick week, which I'm debating between some options for that week. So, but I'll talk about that week when I get to it. So, to conclude, road to 272 pool, I'm taking the Seahawks over the Titans. If you have the Seahawks available, consider using them, but also consider the fact the Seahawks do still play the Panthers in Week 17, so you might want to keep the Seahawks for Week 17. In Joe Ostrowski's pool, I'm taking the 49ers at home to the Panthers on Monday Night Football. It sucks to wait till Monday night to see your survivor pick play, but that's really the only option I have in that pool right now because all the other big favorites I've already used. Teaser of the week. We'll wrap up the show with this. My teaser of the week did hit last week. I took Texans minus 1.5. That covered because of that last second field goal, and Seahawks plus 8.5. That covered against the Rams. So back-to-back winners for teaser of the week this week. I'm going to get aggressive. I'm going to do a 3-leg 6-point teaser this week because 3 legs that I absolutely love. I couldn't decide which 2 to go with. I will go Patriots. We're going to tease down from 7.5 to minus 1.5 against the Bengals. Crosses key numbers of 7 and 3. Obviously, perfect teaser leg. The Packers are also a perfect teaser leg, down from minus 6.5 to minus 0.5 against 9 and the Minnesota Vikings. And then the Falcons, and maybe if you just do a 2-leg one, you leave this one out of it, but Falcons from plus 1.5 up to plus 7.5 against the Saints. Do they beat the Saints? Maybe not, but I'd be shocked if the Saints win by margin, win by more than a touchdown. That would truly be a dark day for the Atlanta Falcons. So Patriots minus 1.5, Packers minus 0.5, Falcons plus 7.5, 3-leg 6-point teaser gets you around plus 140. That is my teaser of the week. I usually stick to just 2-leg 6-point teasers, but I'm going to get a little aggressive this week and do a 3-leg teaser. And that is today's show. Thank you all so much for watching this week's edition of the Bacon Bets podcast. Let's try to take a step in the right direction, I guess. That's all I can really hope for. The road to 272 bets marches on.